threw it into the air. Abby heard the audience gasp as it sailed upwards, as if in slow motion, before landing back in her father's hands. This time, there was absolute silence. Some of the little ones in front had their hands over their mouths in shock. And then, with a broadening smile, Dad showed them the empty box. Ta-da had disappeared. There came some proper applause this time, and Abby could just about make out little Mike looking pleased. Abby's shoulders relaxed as she watched Dad hit his stride. "Now," he said. "You, madam in the front." The old woman who was knitting in the second row looked up over her glasses. "Yes, you. May I have your bag, please?" The old woman looked around like someone who had been singled out by a teacher. "May I have your bag?" The old lady stuffed her knitting into her pocket and hauled herself to her feet. She picked up her bag and walked through the gaggle of children on the floor, who parted like the Red Sea with her every step. They watched her as she handed her bag to Dad. Dad took it and thanked her, before waving his magic wand over the bag and reaching in. First, he took out a small flask of tea. The old lady blushed at that, but Abby couldn't blame her. The prices they charged for a cup of tea around here were extortionate. Then came a half-eaten scone with jam, a pair of reading glasses, a puzzle book, a handkerchief, and eventually, a fluffy pair of ears, as Dad pulled out Ta-da, who looked positively disgruntled, having spent the last 5 minutes in an old lady's handbag. The old woman gasped, and the crowd started to clap enthusiastically. There were even a few cheers. "And now for the grand finale," he announced. The audience was starting to eat out of Dad's hands by now, and Abby could see that he was feeding off the energy. When a show was going well, her dad would glow. It was like he transformed somehow into the great Ronaldo. Not Dad, not the one who made her food or told her to do her homework, but a black silk cape-wearing, red-ribboned, top-hat-doffing magician. Dad grinned at the audience as he placed Ta-da gently back in the box and replaced the lid. Then he swirled the magic wand around as if stirring some kind of mystical soup. "This rabbit will take flight. It will become at one with the air," he announced. This was the hardest bit of the routine. Abby knew that. Dad knew that. All kinds of things could go wrong, and had gone wrong in practice. Abby watched, suddenly tense again. A respectful hush had now fallen over the audience, and even little Mike looked like he was holding his breath. "Go on, little rabbit. Fly!" Dad shouted at last, flicking his wand upwards dramatically. Suddenly, there was a green and red flash and a bang loud enough to blow your granny's socks off. Then came the smoke. Abby's heart beat painfully as she watched. The bang was supposed to happen, the flash too, but then the lid was supposed to come off the box. It was supposed to come off, but it looked as if it was jammed shut. It was then that the box started to move, jittering about on the table back and forth. Abby looked on as her dad started to panic. The little children at the front began to cough as rolling waves of smoke billowed their way off the stage towards them. Dad tried again. "Go, little rabbit! Fly!" he shouted, waving his wand in the air. Abby's heart sank. She could hardly see him now. The smoke cylinder had gone haywire and was spewing thick, choking smoke. There was some jeering from the crowd. The box was bouncing, up and down, as Dad fought to prise the lid off. Some of the littlest children were crying, and the knitting lady was holding her handkerchief to her mouth. "What's wrong with this thing?" she heard Dad's strangled voice say as he wrestled with the box. Then, eventually, he managed to prise the lid off, and as he did, 6 pigeons burst from the box in a blind panic, feathers flying everywhere as they wheeled about in the smoke, disorientated. The boos were getting louder now, and Abby could see Dad trying to whistle to the pigeons to calm them down. Most magicians used doves, but since they were so